أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة والسلام عليكم أولياء النعم. So here we are starting this line now. وأولياء النعم. So as we've said, this is still a continuation of Assalamu alaikum. So we are repeating that phrase again and again in each of these headings. Awliya and Ni'am. So let's look at the words first of all. Awliya is the plural of Wali, from the root Wilayah. Wilayah, as the root, refers to one thing being placed next to another thing in a way that no foreign object can act as an intermediary or creating a distance or gap between those two. And there also is some kind of relationship between those two things. So for example, if two things are next to each other, but there's no relationship, that is not walaya, that is not wilayah, that is nothing to do with wali from the root word that we're discussing. The term can be used for good things and evil things, and the Quran uses this term for both good and evil. For example, in Ayatul Kursi 2257, Allah says, Allahu waliyul ladina amanu. Allah is the wali of those who believe. Yukhrijuhum min adh-dhulumati ila an-nur. He takes them out of darkness and puts them into light. Walladina kafaru, and those who disbelieve, awliya'uhum at-taghut. Their awliya are false gods or false authorities who lead them out of light into darkness. So in this one verse, you've seen that Allah uses the term wali for himself and the plural awliya for those who disbelieve, who take others to be the guardians. Now, these two things which are next to each other, these two things which have a relationship of wilayah between them, they are wali. Then these can be physical things and spiritual things. We use it for physical things and we use it for spiritual things. Now, the relationship between these two is what really we are concentrating upon. Sometimes the relationship between those two things which are next to each other is equal, but sometimes it is unequal. Like what? For example, like we say, Muhammad is the brother of Ali, and Ali is the brother of Muhammad. The relationship is equal. One is a brother to the other is a brother to the first one. Examples of this are, for example, friends. When you have a friend, you are his friend, he is your friend. Helping each other, people that you help, you are there for one another. You help that person when he needs help, he helps you when you need help. Love, for example, between people. You love that person loves you. So this is the first category. The second category is no. Sometimes the relationship is wilayah. The things are next to each other. There is a relationship between them, but it is an unequal relationship. So something is different. For example, Muhammad is the father of Fatima, but Fatima is not the father of Muhammad. Fatima is the daughter of Muhammad. Examples of this are, for example, when we say guidance. Guidance usually comes from one direction. Someone guides another person. Leadership, one person is the leader and he leads everyone else. Authority doesn't go both ways. In most of our interactions, authority is one way. That person is my authority. I cannot be then his authority as well. So sometimes the relationship is equal, like brotherhood, sisterhood. Sometimes it is unequal, like, for example, guidance and leadership and authority. Generally speaking, people in society around us are from the first category. For example, neighbors. You are your neighbor, you are your neighbor's neighbor, and he is your neighbor. Colleagues, you are colleagues of one another. For example, fellow citizens in your country, you're all pretty much equal. Members of a mosque or a Jamaat, you're all members. So these things are generally around us. But when we speak about God and his relationship with his creatures, of course, then it is of the second category, the unequal relationship. He can affect us, but we can never affect him. He can shower his grace upon us. We can never shower our grace upon him. He can give us orders and tell us what to do. We can never tell him what to do. So the effect is always one way with Allah. We are basically receiving everything that He is giving us. He doesn't receive anything from us. We cannot make any change in Him. Now, once we've understood that, we go to the next stage. What we will say next is that, yes, Allah has this leadership, this authority, and this guidance which He gives to everybody. He has mercy and everything which He is giving to everybody. But then He then delegates His authority and some of His role to the prophets and the Imams. This is 555, the famous verse. Innama waliyukumullah, your guardian is only Allah, wa rasuluhu, and His messenger, walladina amanu, and those who believe. Who are they? Alladina yuqimuna as-salah, those who establish prayer, wa yu'tuna az-zakah, and they give zakat, wa hum raki'un, while they are in the position of ruku. This, of course, is referring to Amir al-Mu'minin directly, that in his blessed life he did this, and Allah revealed this verse in His praise, that He is your leader. So Allah is the Wali, but then He delegates His authority to the Prophet, the Imams, other prophets before our Holy Prophet. To a lesser extent, we can even expand this further. To a lesser extent, Allah extends this authority even further. For example, a father has authority. A mother has authority. Where do they get their authority from? From Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are the original power, guardianship, authority, leadership is with Allah. He then gives it out as He wishes, directly to the Prophet and the Imams, and to a lesser extent to other people such as fathers, mothers, and other leadership positions. What is the main role of a leader or a guardian, a wali? When you say someone is my wali, what do I expect of that person? Ayatullah Javadi says that the main role of a wali, what you would expect of a wali, is to plan and manage the affairs of his subjects. He plans and manages the affairs of those whom he is responsible for. If he would not do this, then imagine the world would be in a kind of chaos and all manner of upheaval would happen in the world. Think about, for example, our own countries. Imagine if there was not an authority in our countries, be it even a non-believing authority. It's okay at the moment, just for this example. Even if it's a non-believing kafir authority, they still have to take care of policing, maintenance of the country, the roads, transport, jobs, welfare benefits, safety, invasion from other people, defending the country, the water, the power, the refuse, the waste, the sewerage. All of these things have to be managed and controlled by an authority. So imagine if there was no authority, we would be in chaos. So when we say awliya and ni'am, when we say to the Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon you, you are the awliya and ni'am, you are the awliya, those leaders who have been given their authority by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what we are saying really is that you are those people who, through your blessed existence, the bounties of Allah, ni'am is plural of ni'ama, which is bounty, ni'am is bounties, which we'll come on to in a minute. The bounties of Allah are proportioned, planned, and managed for the creatures of Allah. The main role of a wali is to plan and manage the affairs of his subjects. Hence, when we are talking about bounties of Allah, you Ahlul Bayt, you have been placed in charge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the supreme authority. He has given you the authority and the delegation to plan and manage His bounties to reach His creatures. Now we talk about ni'am. So that was awliya. Awliya un ni'am. Ni'am is the plural. So both of these words are plurals. Ni'am is the plural of ni'amat. Ni'amat means bounty. Ni'am, bounties. There is another plural as well. You may find this interesting as we go into some Arabic discussions. Another plural of ni'amat also exists, which is an'um. Now this word, ni'amat, bounty, comes from na'ama, meaning something that is comes in use for a comfortable life, something that is a comfort in life, something that is a good state of being in. This is a ni'mah, this is a bounty. This can also apply to material things and spiritual things. We can have material bounties, we can have spiritual bounties. What is the difference between these two plurals? Ni'am and an'um. Well, very simple. An'um is what we call jam'i qillat. That means a plural which typically refers to 10 things or less, usually less than 10. And ni'am, which is the other plural which we are discussing today, is jam'i kasrat. It is the plural which refers to many, many bounties, so many, that this is ni'am. But when there are few, we call them an'um. If you want an example of this, you can refer to the Quran, 16:112 and 16:121, where Allah, He mentions a few bounties and then He calls them an'um. However, when He wishes to address all of humanity with all of His bounties, which are so many, He uses ni'am. This is in 31:20. Alam taro anna Allah sakhara lakum ma fis samawati wa ma fil ardh. Have you not seen that Allah has subjected for you whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth? Wa asbagha alaykum ni'amahu. And He has lavished His favors upon you, dhahiratan wa batinatan, both seen and unseen. He is using the word ni'am here because, of course, He's saying everything in this world, all the heavens, all the earth, everything within them, all the hidden stuff, all the seen stuff, the unseen and the seen and the hidden and the apparent, they are all for you, O insan. So here He uses ni'am. And in Arabic, when we add alif and lam, for example, we say an-ni'am, then, like we do in this ziyarat, we're saying awliya'un ni'am, al-ni'am, an-ni'am. Then it basically, without any other qualifier, if it comes without any other qualifier, it means all bounties of Allah, physical, metaphysical, material, spiritual, seen and unseen. A question arises that, okay, if Imams are awliya'un ni'am, if they are the people in charge of the bounties of Allah, then how do they do this? So this requires a little bit of explanation. The system of God uses basically the angels to carry and bring the bounties of Allah to His creatures. But the angels themselves are under the command and authority of the Imam of the time, the perfect human being on earth, the Insan-e Kamil, which is, of course, our blessed Imams during their time. They were Insan-e Kamil, and currently the Insan-e Kamil of this time is our beloved Imam, Imam Zaman, Ajalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. So before doing anything, these angels, they pass this through the Imams, they take their orders from the Imams, they receive permission from the Imams, and then they go about their work. We have this hadith, which has been quoted from Imam Musa Kadhim. He says, Ma min malakin yuhbituhu Allahu fi amrin. There is no angel which Allah sends with any important matter, with any matter at all. There is no angel which Allah sends to deal with any matter illa bada'a bil imam, except that he begins his job and his work with the imam. He first starts with the imam. فَعَرَضَ ذَلِكَ عَلَيْهِ. He first will come and get approval from the imam. He will check what he's doing with the imam. He will say, look, I've brought all this from Allah. These are my words. I've brought all this from Allah. Allah has given me all these bounties. Now you tell me, where should I distribute? وَإِنَّ مُخْتَلَفَ الْمَلَائِكَ مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ تَبَارَكَ وَتَعَالَى. And the coming and going of these angels, we don't know, brothers and sisters, we don't know how many millions, billions, trillions maybe of angels are coming and going from earth to heaven and heaven to earth all the time. But this mukhtalaful malaika, this coming and going of angels, min indillah, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ila sahibi hadha al-amr, always begins with the imam of the time. So all the bounties are therefore under the supervision of the imams, the will of the imams, and the permission of the imams. So is there some conflict here with the will of Allah? No, because if you refer to our previous discussions, their will and Allah's will is in sync, as we have said before. If they do not give permission, or they do not see the prudence or expedience in a matter, they will not allow it. That is their role. Allah has given them this role. He trusts them in this. He knows they are in sync with his will. This is his system that he channels everything through. Hence, all bounties flow through them. They are the awliya, the managers, the leaders, those in authority of these bounties. All of this is based on the permission of God. So they are not independent of Allah, of course, in any way. It's all based on the permission of God. And this is actually the role given to them by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we go through this ziyarat, you will see more of a tafsir of this very sentence, awliya un-ni'am. The ziyarat itself will go into how they are awliya un-ni'am. Some of it we have already discussed. Some of it we are going to discuss. For example, mawdi'ur risala. You are the place where prophethood and the messengership of Allah has been placed. This is also one of the ni'am, the ni'mats, the bounties of Allah upon us. So you are those people who have brought and made in reality this thing. وَمُخْتَلَفَ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. You are the place where angels come and go. If it wasn't for you, where would the angels go? وَمَهْبِتَ الْوَحِي. You are the place where Allah's wahi descends. وَخُزَانَ الْإِلْمِ. The ilm of Allah goes through you. وَأَبْوَابَ الْإِيمَانِ. You are the gateways of Iman. وَمَحَالِ مَعْرِفَةِ اللَّهِ. You are the places of the ma'rifat of Allah, and so on and so on. We will discuss these all in turn as they come up, and some of them we have already discussed. And physically as well. This ziyarat mentions a number of physical bounties of Allah, which this ziyarat attributes to Ahlul Bayt. Bikum yunazzilul ghayth. Through you, he sends the rains. And we will discuss this, of course, in more depth. Inshallah, next week, we will discuss this in a little bit more depth. I want to bring two ahadith, one from one of the letters of Imam Zaman and one from one of the letters of the King of Kings, His Highness, Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. We'll discuss that more next week, inshallah. We will now look at the questions, if there are any, and we will try and make this session come to a good end, inshallah. So we have the question, is Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam the Wali of Imam Ali and all other Imams? Well, he's never been called that directly, but yes, we can say in some respect, yes, that he is. He is definitely the teacher of the Imams. The Imams gain the knowledge from him. Amirul Mu'mineen himself attributes so much bounties to him directly. Ana abdum min abidi Muhammad, he says in one of his speeches, he says, I am a slave from the slaves of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Does wali mean friend too? Yes, it can. It can, because as we said, the original meaning, if you remember, was two things close to each other with a relationship. And this can apply to friendship as well. But if you look at the context of the verses and everything, Allah is not just saying, Allahu waliyul ladina amanu. I'm a friend to those who believe. No, he's saying something much, much more profound. In Surah Qadr, the angels also descend on the ruh. Is that the same as Imam? I think you might be a bit confused here. In Surah Qadr, the angels and the ruh descend, not the angels descend on the ruh. Tanazzalul malaikatu war ruh. The angels, malaika and ruh, all of these beings descend. I think we will end here. Inshallah, next time we will discuss a little bit more about this same sentence. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.